Have you ever walked into a pet store, locked eyes with a tiny chirping budgie and instantly felt that spark? You bring it home, set up the cage, maybe even give it a cute name like Kiwi or Blue, and just like that, you're a proud bird parent. But here's a question most people don't think to ask until after they've brought one home. Is one budgie really enough? At first, it might seem like everything's fine. Your little buddy chirps in the morning, hops around the perch, nibbles on seed, but days turn into weeks, and you might start to notice something's off. Less chirping, more pacing, maybe even some aggressive nibbling at the bars. Why? Because budgies aren't just cute, they're incredibly social creatures. In the wild, they live in flocks, constantly communicating, grooming each other, and flying side by side. So when we isolate them in a cage with no feathered companion, it can take a toll. Here's a stat that might surprise you. Budgies can live up to 10 to 15 years with proper care, but their quality of life depends heavily on social and mental stimulation. A single lonely budgie can become anxious, depressed, and even self-destructive. So in this video, we're going to explore the big question. Is it okay to keep just one budgie? We'll look at the science, the stories, and the real-life challenges. From behavioral issues to bonding dynamics, from cage setups to what it really means to be your budgie's flock. Before you assume your solo budgie is fine, let's dive into what really makes these birds tick. The social nature of budgies. To understand whether one budgie is enough, we have to look at where they come from, not just geographically, but socially. Budgies, or budgerigars, are native to the open grasslands of Australia. In the wild, they don't live alone. They form massive flocks, often numbering in the hundreds or even thousands. These birds are constantly chirping, flying in unison, grooming each other, and playing. It's a chaotic, colorful symphony of feathers and friendship. Why? Does that matter in your living room? Because even in captivity, that social instinct never leaves them. Budgies aren't just social for fun, they're wired for it. It's how they learn, how they feel safe, and how they stay mentally and emotionally healthy. Let's talk behaviors. Bonded budgie pairs do the cutest things. They preen each other's feathers gently, a sign of affection and trust. They chirp back and forth, sometimes mimicking each other's sounds. They even share food and take turns exploring toys, often acting like tiny comedians performing for each other. It's an entire relationship, feathered and fascinating. Now, imagine a budgie without that. No chirping buddy, no one to preen, no playful interaction. What starts as boredom can quickly spiral into something more serious. A lonely budgie may start to show signs of depression, becoming quiet, lethargic, or withdrawn. Some become aggressive, either toward humans or themselves. One of the most heartbreaking signs is self-plucking, where a bird pulls out its own feathers. Due to stress and isolation, it's not just sad, it's avoidable. These behaviors tell us something loud and clear. For budgies, connection isn't optional, it's essential. So if budgies crave connection that badly, can one really thrive alone? Can a single budgie be happy? So we've established that budgies are deeply social, but does that mean keeping just one is automatically cruel? Not necessarily. A single budgie can be happy, but only under the right conditions. And those conditions? They depend almost entirely on you. See, when you bring home just one budgie, you don't just become their owner, you become their flock. That means it's your voice they want to hear in the morning. It's your face they look for when they're scared. And it's your time, attention, and affection they rely on daily to meet the social needs of a single budgie. Most avian behaviorists recommend at least 2 to 3 hours of interaction every day. And not just passive interaction like sitting in the same room. They need active engagement. Talking to them, playing with toys together, teaching them tricks, letting them out for safe free flight time, even mimicking their chirps. Sounds like a lot? That's because it is. Let's talk about how to tell if you're doing enough. A solo budgie that's thriving will often chirp and sing throughout the day, play with their toys and explore their cage actively. Show curiosity when you're nearby. Try to communicate or mimic your voice. On the flip side, signs of distress or boredom can include excessive silence or repetitive monotone chirping, pacing back and forth across the cage. over-preening or plucking feathers, loss of appetite or sudden aggression, latching onto you with desperation when you leave the room. And here's the tough truth. Not everyone has the time or consistency to be a full-time feathered best friend. Life gets busy, work runs late, social obligations pull us away. And unlike a dog or a cat, a budgie can't roam the house looking for stimulation. Their whole world is their cage and the few hours you offer them. That's why many owners, after seeing the emotional toll loneliness can take, end up introducing a second budgie. And often the change is immediate. More chirping, more activity, more life. But we'll get into that in a bit. If you're the only friend your budgie has, are you giving them enough of what they need? The cage dilemma. Is it cruel to cage a budgie? The word cage doesn't sit well with a lot of people. It brings up images of confinement, of captivity, of wildness reduced to bars and boundaries. So naturally, a big question pops up in the budgie world. Is it cruel to keep a bird in a cage? Let's unpack this. Budgies, by nature, are born to fly. In the wild, they travel long distances every day, weaving through the open air with their flocks. So yes, removing that freedom entirely would absolutely be cruel. But here's the key. A cage doesn't have to be a prison. It can be a home if it's the right kind of space. A small, bare cage with one perch and a single swing, that's not a home. That's solitary confinement. But a large, thoughtfully arranged cage with plenty of perch variety. Foraging toys, ropes, ladders, shreddable paper, and interactive puzzles. Now we're talking about an enriched, stimulating environment that gives your budgie options. And options are freedom. And what about mirrors? They're a double-edged sword. A budgie might see their reflection as a friend, which can seem sweet at first, but often leads to obsession, confusion, or even frustration when the friend never interacts back. Real interaction always beats mirrored illusion. But here's where the real freedom comes in. Flight time. Even with the biggest cage, budgies need time outside of it every day. Whether it's in a bird-safe room or under supervision, free flight gives your budgie a chance to stretch, explore, and act on their natural instincts. It's not just about exercise, it's about joy, and that joy shows. A budgie that gets out of cage time, fun toys, and regular social interaction is confident, curious, and engaged. They step into the cage not with dread, but because it's their safe space where food, comfort, and rest await. So is caging a budgie cruel? Not if the cage is seen for what it should be. A nest, a base camp, a safe haven, not a cell. The real cruelty isn't in the cage. It's in neglect. A lonely, understimulated budgie in a cramped, boring cage is suffering, not because of the bars, but because of what's missing inside them. Freedom is more than just flying. It's about stimulation, choice, and comfort. Is your cage providing that? To pair or not to pair, considerations before getting a second budgie. So you're standing at that mental crossroads. Your solo budgie is doing okay, maybe even thriving with all the love you give. But deep down, you keep wondering, would a second budgie make their life better? The short answer? Very likely yes. Let's talk pros first. Bringing in a second budgie often means instant companionship. Someone who speaks the same language, responds to their chirps, and shares their natural play styles. Paired budgies often show healthier plumage from mutual preening, more active play and exploration, decreased boredom and self-destructive behaviors, happier vocalizations. More often, basically, you're giving your bird the chance to be a bird. But it's not all sunshine and feathers. There are cons and challenges you need to weigh honestly. The most common concern, what if they bond with each other and ignore me? And yes, it's possible. A tight pair might become so focused on each other that they're less interested in your hand or voice. But many budgie parents find a healthy middle ground where the birds bond with each other and maintain a sweet relationship with their human. There are also the practical factors. Bigger cage or second cage for quarantine. Twice the food, twice the cleanup. Extra noise, especially in the morning. More time needed to monitor and manage the dynamic early on. Now, if you do decide to introduce a new friend, here's how to do it right. Number 5, quarantine the new bird for at least 30 days in a separate room to prevent illness spread. Number 4, Introduce them gradually, start with cages side by side, let them observe each other. Number 3, supervised out-of-cage time together once they show curiosity, not aggression. Number 2, consider same-gender pairings to avoid unexpected baby budgies. Number 1, patience is key. Not all introductions are love at first chirp. Ask yourself honestly, do you have the space for a second large cage if needed? Can you afford the additional vet bills, food, and toys? Are you ready for a bit more noise, a bit more cleaning, and a lot more flapping? Because yes, having 2 budgies can be a bit chaotic at times, but it can also be beautiful. A duet of tiny wings, playful chases, cozy cuddles on the perch. And the best part? Watching your first budgie light up with joy from the bond they never knew they needed. Twice the chirping, twice the mess, but maybe also twice the joy. Should you go for it? Budgie Care Guidelines, ensuring a happy life. Whether you've got one little chirper or a full-on budgie duo, the mission is the same. Give them a life worth chirping about. Let's start with the heart of it all, daily interaction and mental stimulation. Budgies are bright, busy creatures. They don't just like attention, they need it to stay happy and sane. Even a few minutes of focused time, talking, whistling, playing peekaboo, or practicing simple tricks goes a long way. Try putting on some music or nature sounds during the day. Budgies often love the rhythm and will chirp along with a favorite tune. But don't stop there, mix things up with creative enrichment. Rotate toys weekly to keep their space exciting. Offer things they can chew, swing on, or puzzle over. Create mini scavenger hunts using millet or small treats tucked in crumpled paper. You can even teach your budgie fun tricks like flying to your finger, ringing a bell, or spinning on command, all while strengthening your bond. Now on to something just as important, nutrition. Seeds alone, not gonna cut it. A healthy budgie diet includes high-quality pellets as the base, daily servings of fresh vegetables. Think kale, spinach, carrots, or broccoli. Occasional fruits, but in moderation. Access to calcium via cuttlebones or mineral blocks. And always fresh water. You are what you eat, and that goes for budgies too. But a healthy diet doesn't mean much if you're missing key signs of illness. Budgies are masters at hiding when something's wrong, so keep an eye out for fluffed up feathers that stay that way, less vocalization or activity, changes in droppings, tail bobbing while breathing, sitting at the bottom of the cage. A checkup with an avian vet at least once a year is a smart move, sooner if something feels off. And let's not forget the basics of their environment. Keep their space clean, wipe down perches, change paper daily, wash toys weekly. Provide natural lighting or full-spectrum bulbs if sunlight is limited. Noise matters. Budgies need social sounds, but not chaos. Loud TVs or constant yelling, that's stress. And yes, they need rest, 10 to 12 hours of quiet darkness every night. A simple cage cover can help them wind down peacefully. Your budgie doesn't need a palace. They need presence, routine, enrichment, a bit of variety, and a lot of love. 1 or 2 budgies, the mission is the same. Give them a life worth chirping. So, is it okay to keep just 1 budgie? Well, like most things in life, it depends. We've learned that budgies are deeply social animals. In the wild, they thrive in noisy, energetic flocks, constantly chirping, grooming, and flying with their buddies. That instinct doesn't just disappear in captivity. We talked about the emotional toll of loneliness for a solo budgie, but also how, with enough love, attention, and stimulation, a single budgie can be happy. It just means you have to become their flock. We explored how the cage doesn't have to be a prison. It can be a playground, a cozy haven, a launch pad for adventures, if you design it that way. And we broke down the realities of adding a second budgie, the pros, the cons, and the responsibility that comes with doubling your feathered family. But here's the truth. It's not about how many budgies you have. It's about the life you give them. A life filled with stimulation, affection, good food, freedom to move, and time to rest. So before you make your decision, whether you're about to bring home your first budgie or thinking of getting a second, take a moment. Think about what you can realistically give and what your budgie truly needs. Now we want to hear from you. Do you have one budgie or more? What's your experience like? Drop a comment below. Let's talk budgies. And remember, whichever path you choose, your budgie's happiness depends on you. So, are you ready to be the best flockmate ever?